Well, I mean, we're talking a lot about last weekend. Hello! We're talking
Greetings from Betelgeuse.
I'm the ghost with the most, babe.
Nano.
So I can do that normally. Fuck you. And nobody knows I'm doing that.
I upset Chloe because I can do that and then go like that.
Can you do this?
Oh, what, with my little finger?
Yeah. Or
I can extend my. I can stretch my fingers as well. I don't know if I can still do it on the camera.
I've got one for you. I've got one. There's no fucking way on the face of this earth you're ever going to do it. Look at my fanny hand. There you go.
Oh dear, what a way to start the show.
And gone, what the fuck? What the hell? So
anyway.
Yes, anyway, what have we been up to? Well, we had a brilliant weekend. Hiya, Andy, mate. We had a brilliant weekend last weekend, didn't we?
Yeah, definitely. Amazing weekend.
What did we have? We had aliens, UFOs, ghosties, and ghoulies.
Certainly was a weird one.
And disgruntled, hi Gary, and disgruntled Second World War people who were highly peed off with somebody doing a German thing. But we'll get to that later.
Do you know what? For some unknown reason, it's not coming up.
Well, you do know there's medication you can get for that these days.
Oh, thanks, Ellen. Apparently, I don't need it.
Excuse me, I'm just going to vomit a little in my mouth, okay?
Yeah.
He was the one that said it.
Yeah. I will admit you did start it. Anyway, back to the subject matter. Yeah, it was. Yeah, really good weekend. But I don't know. We're going to continue with the Men in Black first.
We're going to do the Men in Black. We're going to do the Men in Black. You first.
Yeah, I got demoted on the Man in Grey.
We will carry on with the Men in Black, but I'm
the janitor.
We'll talk. Where's my drink? There it is. We'll talk about the weekends because that was a good weekend. I'm going to hopefully be down there next month when they have their bike night because I'm going to take one of my bikes down there. I think.
Yeah.
Steph. So,
I wonder. To be honest, Okay, that was random. I wonder if the Men in Black are going to chase us after what we saw that night.
That was. Long story short, we'll tell you what happened at the investigation and the talk and the book meeting and everything like that. But that evening we saw the space station go over, and we saw we think it was one of Elon Musk's satellites, wasn't it? Go over.
It was either that or the Chinese space station.
Yeah, it was one of them, and then a UFO with a bloody great big spotlight. Because I only noticed it, when it went bing with the light.
Yeah.
It was only then that it was like, well, what's that? And it was way, way, way up there. And me being me did go, aliens! As loud as possible. And it wasn't the space station. It wasn't the Chinese space station. It wasn't a satellite. So.
Well, no, I mean, the thing was, it came in from the horizon of the sunset. And there was only the one solid light on it. And that's why at first we thought it was one of the space stations.
Yeah.
And as it got right over the top, because we were talking to that member of staff from the Church Farm Museum, weren't we? And as it literally got right over the top of us, it was as if someone had got out of whatever it was with a massive camera, like a huge Polaroid camera, and it was like it took a photo. There was just this big flash, and then the light dimmed back down again, and it carried on going back off to the horizon again. And we all looked on the old International Space Station tracker, and it was over Germany at the time, so it wouldn't have been that. And the Chinese one was miles away from where we were, so we couldn't explain it any other way, really, to be honest. And I don't think Elon Musk satellites have got cameras on them, but
it certainly
was bizarre.
or a light glinting off it. But either way, that's what caught our attention, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean the thing is though with that is that with the light glinting off it, the only way that would have done that momentarily is if it was moving itself into the right trajectory. So if it was out of place just slightly, the boosters may have kicked in to move it into the right position, and it then could have caught the reflection of the sun that way. But
it wasn't that funny, possibly. But
I think Freddie's getting stressed out because he wants his dinner.
Yeah, it wasn't one of the space stations, and it wasn't a satellite, so and we
know it wasn't a normal aircraft because normal aircraft have the marker lights.
Yeah, it's far too high up.
Yep. So that was bizarre.
But yeah, that Saturday was an interesting day. Because you'd done your talk and stuff before I got down there.
Yeah.
And you enjoyed doing that, didn't you?
Yeah, it was a bit scary. I don't know why, because obviously when I was in a band back in the 90s, I was used to actually standing up in front of groups and crowds of people. But being out of doing that for nigh on 20 years, it sort of felt different. It's like doing public events to 30 people or with Most Haunted Experience and with my own groups, that's one thing. But when you've got to stand there on your own and talk to a hall of people, and I never expected that many people to be in there. I only expected the odd couple of people. They were like, oh, who's this bloke then getting up to speak? Didn't think anybody would be sitting there watching. And for there to be that many people, I don't think I saw an empty seat in there. So it was quite daunting when I first got up there. But then once I started to do my speech, as soon as I got starting with the talk, things sort of went by really quickly. And it wasn't until I saw Gary Bradfield standing by the side going, Q&A, Q&A. I'm like, oh, good. I've finished at last. But it went so fast. It went really quickly. And it was nice because obviously spending the morning downstairs and I had Paul Rook to one side of me.
I'm glad you put Paul Rook at the end of that because spending the morning downstairs. What
And then I had Vivian opposite with Dan Winter.
Yeah.
So that was quite nice because obviously knowing these people for so long and never actually being there physically to talk to, it was nice to actually meet the people for the first time in the flesh and actually speak to them face to face rather than on a computer screen.
Yeah.
And then of course, obviously, as soon as I sat back down, I'd got a queue of people all going, oh, can I have your books, please? Which again was a bonus because I went up with 2 boxes of books and only came back with 1. So I was really pleased with that. It was a really good result. But
I must admit, it's like you said, there was a lot of people there that I've spoken to, but I've never met, and it was nice to meet them. And like Jacqueline Dixon coming up and going, "Hello, Marco,"
Yeah.
And then every time she did a live, and then me being me with us being us with the Dark Mirror show, something would happen, and she's like, "Oh, and welcome to the Dark Mirror show."
Well, there's nothing wrong with putting a bit of free advertising out there.
And that's first time put yourself, myself, and Paul Rook have been together.
Yep.
So, and interestingly enough, Mr. Paul Rook will be a guest on the show next week. So that'd be cool. But yeah, I did enjoy that, and we had a rather interesting investigation, didn't we?
Yeah, quite a few things. I mean, I've heard a lot of things about the Church Farm Museum, and sort of the problem is when you hear the stories of previous investigations, sometimes, you look at them and you go, oh, well, is that a little bit far-fetched? Yeah. Are they pulling our legs? But when you actually go to a place and something similar happens.
If you pull my leg, it comes off.
Yeah. So to get the things we got, I'm still baffled by a lot of it, especially the one with the summer house.
That was weird. The summer house one was weird, but that last bit where yours and mine instruments, both went bang and started going mad, and it was intelligent answers. It wasn't random shit. It was intelligent stuff, and then leading us to what it led us to, and then figuring things out and going, "Oh my god," So, but why don't you tell everybody about the summer house? Because I'd just taken some photos up there, hadn't I?
Yeah, we walked round to the back of the main house, and it must be 120 foot away.
Yeah.
About 100 to 120 foot away from the main house. And Mark had already been down to the house itself, and it had been having a sort of nosy through the windows. And there's a padlock on the door, so there's no way anybody could physically get in.
The big round.
Now, I've walked. Yes, I think it's hexagonal shape, isn't it? Blue and white. There's pictures on my timeline, and I think it's being shared about a little bit as well.
Yeah.
And I came out of the house and walked over to where
shared a little bit, hasn't it?
to where the summer house was. Mark then walks away, and as he does, I see this black shadow in the left-hand window, and it walks into view in the door window and just stops. Sorry?
It wasn't Hank Marvin with a Nigerian accent either.
No, and Cliff Richard was nowhere in sight either. No. But whatever it was, it just stopped in the middle of the doorway, and from the picture, it must have been at least 7 foot tall.
Yeah.
Easily.
And I walked away from there as well, hadn't I?
You were about 40 foot away from it, where that second tree was closest to me. That's about 40 foot away from that summer house. The sun was on the right-hand side and was just starting to set.
That's right.
So you were to my left, the sun was to my right. There is no way your shadow would cast into the summer house from that distance.
Shadows were casting over on the left.
No. So there was no way you could have created that. There was no reflection. It was just a black silhouette standing in the doorway. And well, I mean, I took the photo of that, and then we looked at it and gone, "No, that's really weird." Put my phone back in my pocket, only to find out that it had taken 2 pictures.
Yeah.
After that, and I don't remember taking the pictures. So, it's a bit confusing, really. It's typical, isn't it, eh? She goes upstairs. The second she goes upstairs, he kicks off. She was telling the kids, "Oh, you have to be quiet because your daddy's working. Your daddy's working." I'm like, "Yeah, great, well done."
No.
So I came going to stop all of this.
It was really weird. It's like what the hell's this, isn't it?
Sorry?
You looked at your phone. No, you didn't go there. You went, "What the bloody hell is this?" And you went, "Oh." And then you showed me that picture with the black mass in the
well,
a minute, I was just standing there.
Exactly. You were only just standing there, but then you can clearly see there's something standing in the doorway.
Yeah.
So it's a case of what the hell was it? One of the photos that were taken afterwards is actually one of the viewfinder going through the case of my phone.
Yeah. Oh.
But I wasn't physically touching the screen to take the photo. I literally pressed the power button to come out of the camera and shut the phone sort of onto standby and put it in the pocket. But it took 2 photos, one of the inside of the cover and then obviously the other one. So the other one just looked really weird because it looked like some sort of green silhouette of someone laying on the ground.
Yes, it did, yeah.
And yeah.
It was definitely it was different. But it's like the whole night, wasn't it? It was started off a bit slow, and we investigated all different places and the outlying buildings and this, that, the other. I took loads of photos. There were some photos being taken where there was a lot of pareidolia going on. and some people were jumping and going, "Oh, it's!" And it was like, no, it's just pareidolia. But then as the evening went on, things certainly livened up for ourselves, didn't it?
Definitely. Yeah, the stables, that was an experience. And there was a lot of sadness connected to it as well.
It was that first lot of stables. As soon as you went in, we were at the what was it, Skegness Village Farm Museum?
Church Farm Museum, wasn't it?
Farm Museum. And it's got an old farmhouse and barns and this, that, and we went into the first lot of stables, and as you walked in, you could feel something, and the further you walked into it, the further you walked into it and went towards the back of it, the more oppressive and do you want to deal with him?
The only problem is that he's dinner he wants. And Ellen's disappeared upstairs. I'm going to have to bring him in here. A dad's duty's never done. Hang on.
Oh, hi, Gemma. We'll be back with your regular viewing in just a second.
Hang on, hungry boy.
Ah!
Freddie, you're live. Please don't swear.
Yeah, no, not like last time because we had to bleep half of that out. Last time was on, ladies and gentlemen. He literally sat there and went, I'm sick of these snakes on this plane, and we were just like, no, he's been watching that film again, hasn't he? No, stop.
But right down the bottom of that, the stables, they weren't, but they were pretty close to it.
Hey.
We had that feeling that was there, wasn't there? And we started that the word app, the Ghost Hunter app thing, and we were getting words coming through that were actually corresponding with what we were doing in there and what used to be placed in that place.
And we both had the same app. And the thing is, the words that were coming up on this were we've used the app loads of times before in loads of different places. There were words coming up that neither Wayne nor myself have ever seen on this app. So, and we both had the phones on airplane mode, so there was no outside interference.
No. I think what was, because we had two growls, didn't we? We had one at that section. Yeah. We had one in that section, and then there was one in the World War II section.
Yeah.
It was before we stopped filming, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So that first growl sort of got us a bit concerned, didn't it? But that second one, that was really, really loud.
Because that first growl, we both went, what else? Did you just hear that?
What was that?
What the hell?
But what made it worse, that second one was after we stopped filming, because I was filming the app, wasn't I?
Yeah.
And after I stopped filming, that really long, loud growl came through. And I'm like, But obviously, it was that second section. I can't remember the names now. Kylie, wasn't it? It was Kylie and her brother.
Names as well, wasn't it? It was modern day names. But when you looked up how old these particular names were, they were actually very old names, but they'd only come into fashion.
Jaden.
Yeah.
And we said Jaden was a Hebrew name.
That's right.
And Kylie actually does go back a long way, but it's only just recently been sort of revitalized and had a modern touch to it. But it was the story that was behind everything, because she wanted us to go to a drawing, didn't she?
Long story short, we got these two entities came through, and we double checked, and then to see whether our apps were interfering with each other, whether there was something else going on, and we basically double checked everything. Phones were on airplane mode. We held the phones together, no outside interference, and there was one spot in the stables, wasn't it? And we checked because the thing we use has got built-in EMF and this, that, and the other. And we checked, and all the electrics for the lights were nowhere near where we were standing. Wasn't it? We were literally standing there like tricorder go, you know, and there was nothing. It was just this one spot, and then, it was like, wasn't it? And then it was coming with all this very strange wording, and they were from the Second World War. But we didn't know this.
Yeah, I mean, it was just strange because like the EMF readings were fluctuating, sort of in some cases were fluctuating quite intensely.
They were going right up full bars,
but it was to order.
Yeah,
you know, we were saying, can you increase that? And it would go right up to the top and it'd go into the red.
And can you bring it back down again?
And then come back down to order, and you're just like, how is that supposed to do that? You know, and you can understand.
It wasn't on a regular pulse either, because that was another thing we said, and we stood there counting to see if it was a regular pulse, and it wasn't. It wasn't. No. When we asked questions, it would do it.
It was replying. It was giving us words. I mean, I was giving double-barreled words as well, two words at a time. But I think what then sort of turned things for me. I mean, I was quite amazed by what we'd already got, but then we started going on a treasure hunt, didn't we? We were looking for a drawing.
It was. Oh, what were the words that came up? Abnormal.
But no, it was drawing first. Because we started looking in the First World War section, and we were looking for this drawing, weren't we? And then we sort of like, so we'll go into the Second World War section, which was actually basically British military history.
Just for you guys watching, and for you guys watching on YouTube, when we went down the stables, at the bottom of the stables was the worst bit, and that was the darkest, most oppressive bit. But it has like it was stables in a U. So what would be the bottom section of the U has one room which is full of First World War memorabilia, and then the furthest room, which is at the bottom of the next leg of the U, that had Second World War memorabilia. And this thing had asked us to look for a drawing that was abnormal for whatever area, which didn't give us a lot of scope. So we're in the First World War area, and it's got all this stuff. It's got it had a Vickers machine gun in there. There were Mills bombs. There were this. There were that. There's bits of Gloucester Gladiators, wasn't there? Bits of First World War planes, uniforms, shrapnel, bullets. And we're looking at all the pictures, trying to find a drawing, and it's like no. And we're like, is it in this room? Nothing. Is it in this room? Nothing. We walked into the second room. Is it in this room? Bang! All the things have gone red. And it's like, so we're looking around at everything, and there was just quite a few drawings there, weren't there? And paintings.
Yeah, there was a few drawings. There was the colorized print of the battleship.
I think that's
but we looked in all of that room, on all of the shelves. We looked for everything possible for a drawing, and we're like, well, it's, you know, when we asked, is it this? And there was no response. Is it that? No response. And as we went to we were standing back down the bottom again. It came up on the app, the abnormal.
Yeah, because we were about to turn around and go, because we just thought the app's playing up.
And it come up as abnormal on the phone. So we said, well, it's something not right, something that's here that shouldn't be, or it's wrong. And as we turned and looked at the far end of the room, which we'd already been standing right next to, was the Arbeit macht frei plaque. Someone had written it on a plaque on a piece of wood.
For those of you that don't know,
meaning work will set you free.
And it was.
Which was the actual cast iron sign that was over the gates at Auschwitz. Or Belsen. One or two.
Auschwitz.
So we said, is this what the issue is? Is this what you're not happy about? And straight away, boom, I went through the roof. And when we actually looked at the folders that were there, it was full of pictures of the Holocaust.
Yeah.
And that was the reason why that pulled us in there. It didn't like that display. So me and Mark, once we sort of sorted that all out, we went back outside and told them what was going on. But it was as we were leaving that the growl came through. And then you got hit with something, bounced off your chest.
Yeah, I did tonight. I got poked in the tummy.
Just something either poked you or hit you, and then landed on the floor right in front of me. And then all the infrared cameras started clicking on and off for no reason.
Because it was bizarre, wasn't it? And for those of you who don't know, you know, the Holocaust and the concentration camps, well, the world's most famous one's Auschwitz. And if you look at any photos of the gates of Auschwitz, if you type it in, you'll see the big sign that was over the top in big iron letters. Arbeit
macht frei.
Frei, that's it. Work will set you free. And what somebody had done, you got to bear in mind that this Second World War memorabilia room is full of bits of original uniform, bullets, guns, shrapnel, gas masks, everything from Second World War, and a lot of it was original stuff because we asked a historian.
Yeah, and it was all British.
Yeah, it was all British. There was one little bit up one end which just told you a bit about the Germans, and then
their uniform.
Yeah. And then there was this little tiny section right down tucked in the corner, and somebody had hand cut out of wood the same shape as the signposts of Auschwitz, and then they'd painted the words onto this sign and put it in amongst the stuff about the Holocaust. And of course, if you've got anything with energy trapped in it from the Second World War, and it's British RAF, Navy, or Army, they are going to be highly disgruntled and pissed off that you put that in amongst them. And that's what it was all about. It was literally two people, two entities wanted to say to us, look, this shouldn't be here. This has upset all of us. If you don't move it, it's going to get worse. Wasn't it?
Yeah. It certainly created that impression, and it made me feel that something needed to be done. That particular display either needed to be binned or moved somewhere else.
It was that sign that needed to be moved. And as Wayne was saying, when I got poked or whatever the hell it was, something came down, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because things started to go mad, and then something came down at an angle, and he saw it.
I thought it hit your lanyard that was hanging around your neck. I thought it hit that because I heard the.
It did.
The sound of something hitting plastic.
Yeah, it did. It hit my VIP thing. It hit that, but it felt like something going like that. And then, as he said, this thing came down. We saw it. It hit something went like that on my tummy. And then the infrared sensors on the cameras, you'll hear them at night if you shine a light on them, they go, and then they off again. And both the cameras that are in there, won't it, will go.
Yeah.
And I shone me torch.
And at first we thought it was your torch.
Yeah.
But you shine the torch up at it, and it would go on and off as per normal, because obviously you just shone an infrared, a normal torch into an infrared camera, so it would automatically shut itself off. But it was doing it when your camera wasn't even shining at it.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was just going off at random, both of them. And then there's two cameras in there, one at the beginning of the room, and then one halfway down the room.
And we're like,
and they were both doing it.
Is this you? Is it this sign? Are you upset with this sign? So it was.
It would be interesting as well to see. I mean, when you go back down there, is to check and see if they've moved, if they've done anything about it, because they did say they would have a word with the guy.
I hope they have, because I can see things getting a bit lively down there.
Yeah, definitely.
If they don't move that, because it was only that sign. I don't think it was the folder with the pictures of the Holocaust, because at the end of the day, people have got to know about this stuff. But the fact that they'd done a copy of the sign and put it in amongst all the British military stuff, that's what had rattled them, wasn't it? Because it was that signpost. They were like, "No, you're having a laugh, mate." Yeah,
I mean, it's a bit like the experience I had at Ruffin Control Tower. In the back room at Ruffin Control Tower on the ground floor, there's loads of artifacts from American bombers, and they're all in display cases. And yet, in the far corner where the munitions cupboard is, there's a big swastika flag up on the wall and a mannequin dressed up as a German officer. And everybody that has been with me and into that particular area,
exactly why you're on about.
It's felt very oppressive, nasty. People have been. I mean, we had one of our guests, James. He ended up getting a bit of transmogrification as we were standing there. He said, "I can feel myself burning," and I looked at his hands and you could see them shaking. And he said, "I can smell it. I can smell my flesh burning and blistering and bubbling." And in the end, we had to sort of pull him away from that area, take the feeling off him, and then get him to stand outside for a couple of minutes to get some fresh air.
Yeah.
And after about 10 minutes, he came back in and he was fine. And then somebody else went and stood in the corner and near enough felt exactly the same thing, that it was very oppressive and nasty. And I said, but it won't be surprised. This was an operational American Air Force base. And to have something like that in their home, that's not on. And they're not going to like it.
Well, the thing is, for those of you who don't know, although Wayne and I have been friends for years, we'd only ever done, was it 1 or 2 investigations together?
2, including last week's one.
2. Well, no, I mean, before last week, it was 1, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But last week, for those of you who are in the paranormal world, or for those of you who have been on investigations, you'll know yourself that 75% of the time, the only thing you'll catch is a cold. You don't catch stuff on every single investigation. That's just TV land that does that. What you see on TV is not real life.
Definitely.
But for us, and it was our first investigation together for what, 6 years, and we both got the same app, both phones on flight mode, and both the apps at exactly the same time just went mad. And we weren't standing like next to each other, like we were just going, and then we were like, "Oh, this is brilliant," you know. And for all this stuff to happen, and then long story short, lots of guesswork and answering questions, and it's led us to that one. And it wasn't just like the whole thing about the Holocaust, it was that sign. It narrowed it down to that sign, didn't it? It wasn't anything else. It was literally that one sign that it had.
There was nothing in there that there was the issue with. It was just literally the sign itself.
Yeah.
And we actually ended up asking who actually painted the sign, who was responsible for it. And they said, we don't know, because that wasn't here when we went into lockdown. So it's been added recently.
But they were going to find out the guy who ran the Second World War bit, weren't they, and see if it was him, and if it wasn't, get him to move it.
Well, they reckon he had something to do with it because it's his display, isn't it? That's why they tend to keep it under lock and key.
But I certainly think that, as I say, if it's not moved out of that, out of both those rooms, second or third, we'll move it completely. If it's not moved out of there, things will be 6 months, and things will be very interesting.
I think there'll be a lot more activity than they bargained for.
Yeah, and I think it'll go on the side of being not very nice.
Yeah. Well, it will be, because obviously up until now, they're just trying to get people's attention to actually acknowledge that they're there and maybe raise the point that they shouldn't be there. And if it just gets ignored, they're going to get angry.
Yeah.
And the frustration will kick in, and they may start doing things to actually sort of make you even more aware. You know, if making an app go crazy or do something's not enough, then maybe they'll do something more to actually get somebody to do something. It's weird. Yeah, okay. Kenneth Skegness, the guy the exhibit belongs to, is a total non-believer. Staff there think even when they ask him to move it, he won't. that
is down the whim.
Do you know what? I've come across so many people like that. There's the guy that does the Colchester Ghost Walk. He gets paid shed loads of money by students that come to Colchester to go to university. And I can't remember exactly. I think it's about £20 a time to do this ghost walk. And he walks around and he says, this place is haunted by the ghost of such and such, and explains some of the sightings that have been seen. He goes round to the Red Lion and says the grey lady's been seen here walking amongst the halls, and the little boy's been seen running around. And I called him out in front of everybody once and said, do you actually believe in ghosts? And he couldn't answer me. I went, you don't, do you? And he went, no, I don't. Everybody walked off and left him standing there on his own. And I'm like, he's going around telling people about all these places that are haunted, but he doesn't believe in it himself. Yeah. And a lot of the people weren't too happy with the fact that he was passing this stuff off as gospel, but doesn't believe it. They weren't too happy, so they walked away.
I think, like yourself, although I've always been interested in the paranormal, I wasn't particularly a believer. I'm not going to go into it here, but I wasn't a believer until something happened when I was a kid. And something happened when I was a kid, and didn't just happen to me, it happened to my whole immediate family. And it was that made not just myself, but who I was a kid, I didn't believe in it, but my mum, my dad, several news reporters, the police, and other people go, what the fuck? And I don't think, if you're a non-believer, if something doesn't happen to make you go, whoa, you're not going to believe.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the common thing that most people have. You know, they'll be skeptic. You know, they'll be skeptical until they experience something themselves, which is the see it when I believe. You know, I believe it when I see it.
Skeptical, spectacles. Wasted.
Yeah, that was wasted. I'm sorry. But yeah, it is a typical case. So I'll believe it when I see it. And for those of us like Gary and Gemma and many others that have been doing it for years, you know, we see and hear things that we can't explain, and if we can't explain them, then there's only one answer, isn't it?
And what you've got to remember is, everybody watching on here and watching on YouTube, we're not a world. Nobody can turn around and say that they are an authority on the paranormal, because that's complete and utter nonsense.
Yeah,
the paranormal is unknown, so you can't be a world leader, a world authority, have PhDs and this, that, and the other in the paranormal, because it's unknown. What you can be is highly knowledgeable about it. There are a lot of highly knowledgeable people, but it's like yourself, isn't it? A lot of people think that what they see on the TV is real. No, it's really not, because
not everything.
Yeah, not. Yeah. Let's put it this way: there's been a certain program that was set in England, and they've been on investigations to the same same places that myself and Wayne have investigated. Won't mention the show, but he knows what I'm talking about. But we've all done.
Does it sound like Host Flaunted?
It possibly does, yes.
Yeah, okay.
We've done investigations at exactly the same locations. Nothing happens. It's you might get the odd bit. You're certainly not going to get things thrown. You're not going to get a spanner being thrown in, I don't know, say a prison or something. And you're not going to get people screaming and the cameraman going, "What the fuck was that?" It doesn't happen. It just does not happen.
In real life, it doesn't. I mean, they all the TV shows, it don't matter which one it is, most of the ones that have got up there that says for entertainment purposes only, technically they're to be taken with a pinch of salt. But the problem is if they're under a lot of pressure, in all fairness to them, they're under a lot of pressure. They've got to have loads of episodes for the channel to air. And if nothing happens, what's the point in showing it? And they're scared that they're going to lose viewers because they've had an episode where nothing happens. If half the episodes of Truth Beyond Paranormal that I filmed, you know, sometimes you can only get a couple of little snippets at the start of the night and then nothing for the rest of the night. And then other times it flips the other way round, like it was Saturday. Started off really slowly, and by the end of the night, it was kicking off something chronic.
Because we'd gone around saying, "No, it's flat. It's gone flat," and the whole place had gone flat, and it just went boom. But it's like one thing I will stand by, and I'll always say, Before Flo's Haunted, we were looked upon as outcasts, outsiders, and nut jobs. And if it hadn't been for most Haunted, we wouldn't have been accepted into the mainstream as we are now. So Most Haunted was what hauled all of us weirdos into the limelight, and it is true. If it hadn't been for that, a lot of us wouldn't be out here doing it.
I'll never thank Most Haunted for me getting into the paranormal, because I was into the paranormal from the age of 6.
I don't mean for us
but
getting in.
The Ghost Watch, I would say, was before Most Haunted, which started it all off.
Oh God, with Nick Ross
and Sarah Green. Green and her husband, Craig Charles. That was, I think, was 1998, maybe a bit earlier.
I'm only on about the first season of Most Haunted, because after that it did get
which is a bit like about, I think it was a 2001, wasn't it?
Yeah.
2001 into 2002. So but I mean, in respective that Most Haunted was where a lot of people thought, oh yeah, I could do something like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of groups started to appear. And it's then that a lot of the groups actually realised, they're like, oh, well, hang on a minute, how come we don't get the activity they get?
Yeah.
And it stands to reason, because they're not performing seals. If they've got enough energy to do something, they will. If they haven't, then it's tough. You just have to go with the flow.
And exactly as you've just said, for anybody who hasn't been on an investigation, spirits have to. It's like a torch with a battery. They have to use energy, and once that energy's used up, the bulb goes dimmer. They have to go away and recharge, and then they can come back again, because everything operates on different vibrational levels and frequencies.
Yeah,
their stuff is at a totally different vibration and frequency to us as live people,
And that's why a lot of people, when they go into do vigils and seances, is that they stand there and say, use our energy. Or use our combined energy to try and communicate with us.
I don't suggest doing that, however.
I do it all the time with my people. If people are happy to do it, we say to people, use our collective energy, because they won't drain you completely. They'll just take enough for you to use. But the majority of the people we take out have all been protected anyway. That's only crazy arseholes like me that say, I don't want the spell of protection. Well, I want it to happen. I want it to happen to me. So
those of you who are going on investigations, do it in a group. Don't do it on your own. Don't do it with your best mate down the road. If you are doing it with your best mate down the road, don't turn around and say you can use our energy. The only thing I would suggest you use is a thing called an EMF pump, which you can buy, which jots out the correct energy that they can use. If you're with a group, if you're with people that know what they're doing, they know how to open, know how to close.
That's fine.
Know how to do spells of protection. And more importantly, when they do the Ouija board, they know how to open and close it properly without scaring people. By all means, do it. It's not scary. It can be scary. It's not going to affect your life. It's not going to attach itself to you. If these people know how to do it properly and open and close it, you've got nothing to worry about. But I don't advise anybody doing it on their own or doing it with a couple of mates. Having said that, us here on the Dark Mirror Show, we are thinking about starting up our own team, aren't we? We were talking about this last weekend.
Ellen's just looked as if to say, what?
Yeah. So if we do... Sorry?
So how many more groups?
Well, to be fair, this show's been going for nearly 6 years, I think, maybe 7 years. And we've never had a team. I've been asked lots and lots and lots of times, and I've always gone, no. But because I've had a lot of requests recently, I thought, do you know what? And I spoke to you about it, didn't I? And I said, what did you think? So we might start up our own paranormal investigation team where we would go to organize events, etc., etc., etc. If you are interested in joining, drop us a note on the Dark Mirror wall, and then we will consider your applications. But be myself and Mr. Wayne there. We in charge, boss.
We're the boss. Boss man.
Andy, you're in there. If you want to be in there, you're in there, mate. And James.
I mean, it's what you could have as dark mirror events.
We could actually. We could. Because then it could be run in conjunction with other paranormal events.
Exactly.
So there you go. Anybody interested, go on our wall. Our Facebook wall is linked to my phone via WhatsApp. So if you send us a message on the dark mirror wall, it'll come through to my phone. All right, and then we can seriously look into your application. So there you go. But like I say, last weekend's investigation for not going on one for a while because of all the lockdowns and everything, that was really good. That was my second one this year, and to go from, wasn't it? We were all like, nah, there's nothing going on in there. It's all gone flat. Nah. And then there's the summer house, and it's like, oh, that's different. And then it went, and then it just went bang. And then we saw the UFOs and everything. It was afterwards, wasn't it? We were all standing out in the garden.
Yeah, it was towards the end when we came out of. Yeah, because it was after we came out of the stables, after we had Kylie and Jaden communicate with us about the sign. We then came out and we started talking to a member of staff about who had made that plaque.
Yeah.
And that was when we had that thing fly over, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But it was, yeah, I mean, like you say, the night started off slow. It was as flat as a pancake. And then all of a sudden we had the summer house, and then things started happening. People were coming out and saying, oh, we had this and that, and we had this. We then went into the stables and it all started going all weird and bizarre and kicking off with the signpost. And then when we come out, we're standing there talking, oh, the visitors from Beetlegeist have come flying over, taking a picture of us standing in the middle of the field in the pitch black.
Yeah.
And buggered off again. Next minute I knew that was it. I'm like, well, I think it's time to go. Have a cup of tea and then off I go home.
And the main house, the light switching on and off.
Yes. Oh, that happened while we were talking to the member of staff.
That's right.
And you kept saying the light kept going on and off, and that bloke that had only been there for 2 weeks, Shaggy, said, oh, he said, it's always doing that, that is. And he runs in there, and the poor member of staff goes, oh, he thinks he knows everything. He's only been here 2 weeks.
Yeah, we were yapping, wasn't it? And the light went off.
Yeah, right. It was right in front of you and that lady. You were both staring in that direction.
Because I went in, didn't I? I went in. I'm like, hello. No one there.
Came running back out and said, there's no one in there.
Yeah. And then it got turned back on, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It went off twice.
Yeah. And it's like, and the reason we call the guy Shaggy is because he literally looks like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
He was tall, he was ginger, and he had the scruffy, scraggy, bitty beard. And it was you that started it, because you stood there in the car park going, right, Raggy.
And he's like, oh, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, but there's one thing saying it without him hearing it, and then there's saying it loud enough for him to hear it.
It's me. I wasn't trying to offend him, and you know,
he probably got home that morning and he probably sobbed himself to sleep.
Bastards! Said I look like Shaggy. You did.
I'm saying they missed Scooby-Doo.
You look just like Shaggy. If he had pulled a Great Dane out of his pocket, wouldn't have surprised me.
He had to leave him at home because he had to cycle to work.
Yeah, the mystery machine was fucked.
Yeah.
So, I suppose we better do a little bit of Men in Black, haven't we?
Well, we should do, as we've only got 10.5 minutes left.
Yeah, we have, haven't we? So, hello, Puss. So, yeah, we couldn't do a show last week because, unfortunately, Wayne was caught up in a traffic jam, and that was it. There was nothing he could do about that. And Taylor is back Monday. I am personally driving down to London Monday and picking her up. So we will be back with the rearview mirror shows as well. But Yeah. So I don't know if you remember before we were talking about Men in Black.
I don't know, but I'm going to start with an amazing fact. Okay. The band, the Stranglers, in 1979, recorded a song entitled The Men in Black for their album The Raven, which was released that year. Then the following year, 1980, with a concept album, The Gospel According to the Men in Black, all one word, which featured alien visitations to Earth.
So before it became fashionable.
So before it became fashionable, the Men in Black were being mentioned quite a bit in popular culture. So, and then obviously in 1997 along came Men in Black itself, the film. So,
well, we mentioned the first popular or the first alleged photo of the Men in Black in 1967 in Chicago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we mentioned that 2 weeks ago. So we were all. I remember when I did a show about them. We did a previous show about 3 years ago with Kerry Greenaway about Men in Black, and she was convinced that they kept looking for a patio doorknob because we were talking about stuff we shouldn't have been talking about, and we were just winding her up. And she's like, "Ah, Men in Black."
I mean, there are a lot of. Excuse me. There are a lot of other references regards to the Men in Black, and they appear in a number of different books. The UFO Encyclopedia, Volume 3, Heinz Strangeness, UFOs from the 1960 through to 1979. And being probably the most popular one that people refer to. And do UFO hunters still report Men in Black sightings?
Well, I've got some stuff up here on recent-ish Men in Black stories. I'll just see what one of the newest ones I can find is. Let me have a look. And of course, that's going to stop scrolling. That'd be really good. Well, Nick Redfern brought out a book, The Real Men in Black, and talking all about it. Nope, nothing. Oh, hang on. What was that say? What did that say? Oh, yeah, the Men in Black movie in 1997. Let's have a look at this one. Right, let's... No, we don't want 1947. Yeah, here's one. The real MIB agent who made a coin disappear as a scare tactic. That's interesting. Dr. Herbert Hopkins. What a name. Dr. Herbert Hopkins was working as a consultant on a UFO case in Maine. And then one evening, he received a phone call from someone purporting to be an activist in the UFO community. I think we spoke about this, but I don't remember saying about the coin. Anyway,
no, you've not mentioned the coin.
Yeah, asked if he could visit Hopkins to discuss the case. Minutes later, the man arrived, and the man was wearing a black suit, black tie, very unusual facial appearances with no hair or eyebrows, and an extremely pale figure. Hopkins' dog began barking erratically the minute the man entered the home. And after the bizarre visitor was finished questioning him about the UFO case, the visit got even stranger. And this is how it is, according to how it happened, according to Hopkins. The man in black informed Hopkins that there were 2 coins in Hopkins' pocket, which apparently was correct at the time, and asked him to remove one. Hopkins complied and held the coin, a shiny new penny, in the palm of his hand. The MIB told Hopkins to watch the coin closely, and after a few minutes, the coin took on a silvery appearance and then began to be going out of focus. It then began to fade and eventually disappeared altogether. The MIB informed Hopkins that the coin would never be seen on this plane again. He then inquired as to whether Hopkins was familiar with the alleged UFO abductee Barney Hill. We know about the Barney Hill case. Hopkins replied that he'd heard of Hill, but was under the impression that he died in the not-too-distant past. The MIB informed Hopkins that was correct, but he said Barney didn't have a heart attack, just like you no longer have a coin. And it should be noted that Barney Hill actually died of a cerebral hemorrhage, but it wasn't known at the time. The MIB then gently suggested that Hopkins should destroy any material he had relating to that particular UFO case. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I don't know. It's using magic, isn't it? Basically, the art of illusion.
Is he using magic, or if he was not from here, was he using something that is normal to them?
But how are we going to know? I mean, all you've got to do is dress Dynamo up in a black suit, get him to go around to someone's house who says they saw a UFO, and get him to make 5,000 fish appear out of his coal bucket. And that'd scare the living daylights out of him and tell him to keep quiet for God knows how long.
I suspect it would. Yeah, I suspect it would.
So, I mean, you know, it could be like, the fact is that yes, they could be government agents that are specifically trying to get people to keep stum about what they've seen or heard, and they will use all manner of tricks. But the problem is nowadays, you know, apparently sightings of the Men in Black have dwindled. But have they?
Has it dwindled, or is it people are just not reporting it?
Well, according to British ufologist Nick Redfern, disputes the notion that the sightings have declined. In his book, The Real Men in Black, he tells of several reported visits in recent years. Whether or not the sightings have continued or will continue, Clark cautions against dismissing such stories as the ramblings of crazy people, or to think of them as literal events, like bumping into someone at the grocery store. Rather, Clark said, the direct observation and the event must be separated. Accounts of the Men in Black represent experiences that, in his words, don't seem to have occurred in the world of consensus reality.
Well, it's like I was saying, wasn't it? 20, 25 years ago, we were looked upon as the fringe of society and nut jobs. And now we're still nut jobs, but, you know, people go, oh, yeah, I love it.
I mean, again, it's like we've always said, isn't it? You know, if someone turns around and says, oh, I've seen a UFO, a lot of people are just going to turn around and go, yeah, you're nuts. Oh, I've seen a ghost. Yeah, you're nuts. But when you've got credible people from society, like Vickers and army personnel, RAF personnel, doctors, police officers,
former presidents,
you know, respected members of the community, are turning around and saying, I saw a UFO or I saw a ghost. Yeah. People are not going to go, you're a whack job. They might have done with Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump, mind you, but most of the others, you know,
Jimmy
standing pillar of the community, they are. Oh, no, if he says he saw a UFO, then he saw a UFO.
Well, Jimmy Carter saw one as well, didn't he?
Yeah.
And he got listened to.
It's weird because you're saying about Jimmy Carter. It's oh Christ, I can't remember which one it was now. It was one of the presidents. He's now being said to be linked with the Treasure of Oak Island.
Really?
Because of his links with the Freemasons.
Oh.
So they reckon that over the. Excuse me, just put my toupee down a bit.
Yeah, I have that problem myself.
It was going a bit sideways. I'm sorry. I can't remember which one it was now. I'll have to look back on some of the episodes. But they said that the original founder of Nova Scotia, meaning New Scotland, was actually a Freemason, along with all these other people that ended up having high-ranking jobs, like presidents of the United States. They were also
Franklin a Freemason.
I think it was Franklin, but it was more one of the recent ones, one of the 20th century ones.
Yeah.
I'll know it if I find it. See the name. Freemasons.
I must admit, I need to watch season 8. I know I've seen season 7. I haven't watched season 8.
Right, George Washington, James Monroe, Andrew Jackson, James P. Falk, James Buchanan, Andrew Johnson, James Garfield, William McKinley, Theodore Roosevelt, Harry Truman, Gerald Ford. I'm sure it was Roosevelt.
Yeah.
he was the I'm sure Roosevelt was it Teddy or the other one?
Well, Theodore Roosevelt, isn't it? Teddy Roosevelt.
Well, both of them were Theodore and Franklin.
Yeah. I know Benjamin
Theodore came first
as well, weren't they?
So there was a lot of American presidents were Freemasons.
Yeah.
Oddly enough. But I'm sure it was one of the Roosevelts. I think it was the earlier one, Theodore. I would have to double check it, but I'm sure it was one of them too. And they reckon there was this distinct link between him and a search that was penned on the island, along with the other Freemasons and that were to do with there, because there's a lot of stuff gone on this year that have come to light.
I need to catch
weird.
Definitely.
So
think about trying to start a fight now, you little bugger. One of the cats is like,
it does make you wonder, whether this business with the Men in Black is also it's obviously it's got something to do with the government trying to cover things up, and whether the Men in Black are actually aliens employed by the government to cover things up because they've got the know-how and the ability to.
It does make sense.
Well, I mean, you've got all the possible theories that the aliens have been here for a long time working amongst us. So could they be the Men in Black working with our governments to keep us quiet about it?
I don't see, just one second. I don't see why not. I really don't see why not.
It does make you wonder. Yes, Gary. I mean, I've now caught up with the last series, Series 8. And the Knights Templar have been sort of riddled right the way through.
Yep. All the whole way through, isn't it?
But in this series, they've actually found a road that goes around the edge of the swamp and heads back up to the highland, which leads towards the money pit. They've actually unearthed a cobblestone road right in the swamp.
Didn't they start uncovering that in season 7?
They found a load of stones, but they found a stone circle.
Yeah, that's
which
right.
was the eye of the swamp, which makes up the all-seeing eye.
That's right, yeah.
With the triangle of the swamp and the eye at the top. Right. But to the right of the swamp, as you look at it from space as such, there's a cobblestone road that runs all the way along the outside edge.
That's
and then
right.
it branches off. One goes to the stone circle, and the other one goes back off towards where the money pit's supposed to be.
Because they found the remains of an old key or something there as well, didn't they? And that went off up into the woods.
Yeah, the weird anomaly they reckoned was a boat, and they couldn't find in the last season or in season 7. They actually went in there with a digger, and they actually scooped out the mud to the right depth. And as they did, the trough actually slid along something. So they dug around it and they managed to pull it out with the trough, and it was a rail from a ship.
Yeah, they thought they'd scuttled a ship in there and sealed it in.
They did say it was the theory that on some of the sonograms that they used, that they reckoned there was an anomaly in the middle of the swamp that looked like it could have been a ship, but they could never actually find it. Well, just slightly to the right of where that anomaly was, they have actually found the railing from a large ship.
Right.
And there's more stuff down there. So
one of our next episodes, when we haven't got a guest, is going to be about Oak Island, I think.
It's definitely worth talking about. I mean, the curse itself is pretty cool.
Yeah. That's it. When we haven't got a guest on Oak Island.
Indeed.
So, what is it now? It's 5. Oh, we've run over by for nearly 5 minutes. Bargain. I'm glad you guys have all joined us. It's nice because we couldn't do it last week because of traffic jams and things. But it was nice to share our experiences from last weekend with you because, like I say, we did not expect that. We didn't, because we just thought it was dead.
No.
And we were like, we went in there going, yeah. Oh, what the fuck? Yeah.
It started off dead and then just went through the roof.
And there was naked women everywhere. I can't believe, that I just didn't expect it. We went down there, and it's like, what's that doing there? And that's what we get.
Right. Even my picture, which we can put on the page.
Yeah.
Stick that on the page and let people see for themselves that the shadow there. That was bizarre.
Have you still got the recording of when the bars were just going mental on the app?
Yeah, I've got that whole bit still on my phone. So I'll if I can get it over to you without having to edit it, because obviously I'd rather be able to send you the entire file rather than cutting it in half and sending it in 2 pieces.
Yeah.
But it certainly was a really good experience. And as he's online watching us now, Gary, thank you very much for inviting me to speak at that. I never expected anything like that to happen. And in the last year, I started my books and everything else. I never expected, someone to turn around and say, would you like to be a guest speaker at our event? It's
I told you you'd nail it.
It's quite a shocker, to say the least.
I told you you'd do it, mate.
It's but yeah, thank you, Gary, for asking us, and obviously we hope all obviously I think the next one's going to be the Dan and Viv's Paracon thingy, isn't it? That they're looking at doing.
Yeah, that's right.
And the Scary Marys.
Trying to figure what I know this month at some point I've got oh bloody hell, the nuclear bunker. Yeah.
Which nuclear bunker?
Thingy Bob. I've done it before. There's a video of this up on YouTube where the face is seen by the screen. I can't remember. I'm doing a nuclear bunker at some point in the next.
Well, there is quite a few nuclear bunkers. Kelvin and Hatch.
That's it. Yeah.
When are you going down there?
The middle of August, I think.
Oh man.
Do you want me to find out for you?
Yeah.
All right.
I haven't done Kelvin and Hatch in a long time.
We're on. In fact, I'm on one of the top 5 scariest videos on at the whole of YouTube. The things that have been seen, and it was Kelvin Hatch. And it just happened to be that night we were there, and he see me,
Yeah.
and as the camera pans around.
What's now? What's now?
The lights were on and then they started, and they randomly turned on and started flicking.
Well, I think we've got a bit of paranormal activity going on in my house.
I think on that note, we will call it. We'll say bye-bye to everybody.
Yes, I think so.
Because of Littland's been around and that. Thank you very much for listening. Possibly, I don't think that Sunday she's. I don't think it's going to be a rearview mirror until Taylor gets back here. But not this Sunday. Next Sunday, there definitely bloody will be. So. Thank you very much for watching, and we will see you next Friday with another episode of it. But we will have the guest, Mr. Paul Rook, with us as well. So thank you very much from him.
Okay.
And
sorry, I'm like
that's I'm trying to hurry up.
happening in the background. I'm got sidetracked.
So,
and it's a goodbye from him.
Yeah. And bye-bye, everybody. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Isn't that
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.